Excuse me. Hello. Hello, Home Slices. It's Kiara with Home Slice Adults, and I'm sorry for that for that introduction. Of course, they wait till my body waits till I'm doing a live video to start acting crazy and coughing and all that kind of stuff. But hello, guys. It's been a while since I did a video. I've had a bunch of different things coming up for me. And my life is getting a little more hectic right now, and I'm not dealing with it very well. I've kind of been in chill mode for the past few months, and now that things are actually getting into gear, it's taking me a little bit of extra time to motivate myself. As some of you may know, I am moving to Seattle in probably about 6 weeks, maybe a little bit less, because I was accepted into graduate school in Washington. And so, for those of you who don't know, I currently live in Louisiana. So that is a like 2,500-mile trip. We're going to be driving. We're going to be taking 2 separate cars. We're also bringing the dog, and we have all of our belongings here. To minimize our moving expenses, we are actually selling all of the large stuff so that we don't have to rent a truck. So basically everything that we are bringing to Seattle with us has to be able to fit inside of our cars. And if that's not stressful enough, we have so much stuff here that we need to get rid of: entertainment centers, coffee tables, side tables, dining tables, 2 desks, cleaning supplies, dishes, all the things that we don't have enough space to take with us need to be gotten rid of. And we are actually going to be flying to Seattle in 2 days. That's so much closer than, oh gosh. We're flying to Seattle in 2 days so that we can check out some apartment complexes and get the lay of the land and find a place to actually live while we are there. And so we got to go there and do that. And then, I'll be in Houston for a few days because I need to say, goodbye to some of my family members. So we've kind of had like a hectic time. Last week, we spent like 4 or 5 days in Georgia because my little sister was graduating from high school. So I spent some time with family there and said goodbye to them before I moved to Seattle as well. And we just have so many things to do, and we're not as on top of it as we should be. So I think I need to get back to writing down stuff in a planner so that I can get back on track. And things have been so hectic that in my mind, I thought that I was fully caught up on my reviews for the last OG, and apparently I was not. I was surprised to see that when I went to watch this week's episode of The Last OG, I did not watch last week's episode of The Last OG. Sometimes you just get so flustered that you don't realize that you're behind schedule and you think you're on schedule. So I want you guys to forgive me for that. And enough of my rambling. Let's go ahead and review both of these previous episodes of The Last OG. Episode number 8, which is called That Backslide, and episode number 9, which is called Paid in Full. And if any of you are wondering why my hair is all over the place, I will be washing it today. As you can see, it's still straight, but the roots are just so reverted and puffy. It's definitely time to wash it. But moving on, we start off with episode 8. We see that Trey is beginning to dream about the impact that him selling crack has on the neighborhood. And then he sees that one of the people he's selling crack to is his daughter. And I think he realizes the error of his ways. And one of the guys in the halfway house hears him wake up from that dream, and he says, "A ruffled mind makes a restless pillow." And I kind of like that. If you go to bed and your mind is ruffled and you things are not right in your personal life, excuse me, it definitely makes it harder to sleep. So moving on, Amira, Trey's daughter, is not answering any of his phone calls, and Trey can't concentrate at work. He even takes it out on one of the customers and sprays caramel all over his shirt, saying, "Here's your extra caramel." And that's another thing, like when you're really going through some things in your life, and you're in customer service, people seem to get on your nerves a little more than usual when things are going wrong in your life. It's like, today is not the right day. Right now is not the right time. Please do not bother me. But nobody seems to get the memo. So apparently it is family time at Shannon and Josh's house, and Josh is being very, secretive or whatever. And after his little outburst at work, Trey is talking with Malik Yoba's character, Wavy. And, Trey's telling him that he's frustrated. He's talking about the situation with his daughter. His daughter's not talking to him. And Wavy, just doesn't seem to care. He seems to be kind of reverting to his old attitude of being, a drug dealer. Very much, don't mess with my money. Don't talk to me like that. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. You can't come back to work. I'm basically suspending you without pay. You need to get your head together. You need to get your attitude together before you come back here. And Trey is telling Wavy, like, you used to be the grimiest dude in these streets, and now you're judging me. And, Wavy just doesn't seem to care about him. Like, Trey is kind of expendable. But moving on, during family time, they decide to watch Greenleaf with, a phone notification pops up on the TV. That's why we don't need to have all of our electronics hooked up to each other. But a text message comes in for Josh, and it pops up on the TV. It's from a girl named Emily, and Emily says, "I need you right now." And Josh is all too eager to hop on his bicycle and ride on over to Emily. So Shannon is about to mess something up, and Amira is along for the ride to make sure that things do not go left. And so Amira said that she always felt that white men that dated black women were more dependable. I'm not gonna lie, I have had the same type of thoughts, but the example that Shannon gave was Robin Thicke. I can't pronounce this woman's name, but y'all remember Fancy from the Jamie Foxx show? I think her name is Garcelle. I can't even pronounce her last name, but she married a white guy and he ended up cheating on her. So, it doesn't matter what race you are. A man is a man is a man. Okay. But moving on, slowly Shannon is starting to revert to like this hood mentality and is dragging Amira with her, basically saying, "You're definitely along for this right now and you cannot back out." And so Amira has doubts about him being unfaithful, and eventually we find out that she was right to have doubts. But anyways, Trey is still trying to get in touch with Amira. He's taking out his rage on everybody at the halfway house that are actually worried about him. But Bobby brings over a meat and cheese platter and VIP strip club tickets to try and apologize to Trey, because essentially Bobby's extravagant spending of the money that they were making selling lemon drops was the reason why he was having that conversation with Trey when Trey revealed to Amira that he was selling crack. And so Trey didn't really want to hear it. But Bobby was saying, ever since his brother Clyde died, that Trey is really all that he has. So, I am so sorry. I got enough sleep. I don't know why I'm yawning so much. But moving on. Trey takes the meat tray or whatever, the olive branch that was extended to him. I feel like that was weird. That's like weird to bring somebody a meat tray to apologize. But whatever. So next we see Josh go in a house with Emily, and Shay is giving Amira a pep talk about how crazy this whole situation is going to get, and it's kind of scaring Amira. But to me, this is where Tiffany Haddish shines. It's kind of weird. I don't know if they've done this all on purpose, because I find that like sitcoms don't take into account very deep emotions sometimes, or don't have the same type of like context that like maybe a book would have, not the same type of metaphors or hidden messages or whatever. But to me, it seems like what's been happening on this show is that all of the characters are slowly reverting to the people that they used to be. We have Trey, who is going back to selling drugs. We have Wavy, who has gone from being the benevolent person who gave Trey a job when nobody else would give him a job, back to the mentality of being a drug dealer who has to use scare tactics and very violent measures to try to control their employees. We have Tiffany Haddish, who has, that's my dog at the top of the screen if y'all want to know. Try to put his face in the webcam. But you have Shannon, who has gone from being this, educated, classy Black woman back to the hood chick, having the hood chick mentality that's going to get her man for trying to cheat on her. Okay. So it's kind of weird seeing everybody kind of revert to the people that they used to be. And I don't know if they did that on purpose, but it's coming up in all of the characters' lives. But moving on, Josh goes in the house with Emily, and they knock on the door before Tiffany Haddish's character kicks the door in. And apparently it's not what it looks like, but Josh says that he is sponsoring Emily for Narcotics Anonymous, which is, kind of a rehab program for people who have been on drugs previously. And apparently Amir Noor Rashad knew that their stepfather used to be addicted to heroin. It's kind of a little bit of a surprise for us as well. And that was before he had met Shannon, was when he was addicted or whatever. And so Shannon is trying to make Josh wrong in this situation. I do feel like that there is some blame to be had on both sides, but I do not feel that Josh is as guilty as Shannon. I do feel like Josh was being shady with his dealings or whatever, and that if he was sponsoring some young woman named Emily, that his wife should have known that, and should have known that when you sponsor somebody, you basically have to be available for that person when they're having a difficult time and they are, thinking about doing drugs again. And for him to make himself available to someone without his wife knowing about that was not good. And the fact that it made it look like he was cheating on her was not good as well. If y'all see the camera moving, that's because my dog is over here trying to get some loving, trying to get some snuggles. But the computer's in the way. Stop, Bo. But anyways, Josh said, "You're a Black woman, act like it." Apparently he holds Black women to a higher standard, which is cool, but Shannon was like, I'm offended. But moving on, at the halfway house, everybody is eating the meat tray. Mullins knows that Trey is backsliding, and it's basically, I don't know what the role of a person who runs a halfway house is, if it's just to be kind of like a looser version of a warden, or if he's supposed to be encouraging and helping them find jobs and helping them to establish their lives outside of the penal system, or if he's just there to wait around for them to go back to jail. But Mullins does not seem, or that Cedric the Entertainer's character's name is Mullins, does not seem to have a lot of faith in these people, and doesn't seem to be very encouraging about them necessarily having a great life after going to jail. But moving on, Shannon and Josh are arguing at home, and Trey shows up because Amir butt dialed him. Trey cannot believe that Josh was addicted to heroin. He calls it heroin, and I laughed pretty hard when he said that if you try it one time, you're addicted from here on. Drug addiction is not funny, but the way Trey said it was kind of funny to me. Trey felt so much better about his life because he knew that Josh was addicted to heroin now. I don't feel like people should rejoice necessarily because they feel like their life is better than yours because they did something that you didn't. Trey was like, at least I never did drugs. And Amira basically had to remind him that you are currently selling crack. I mean, is it worse to do drugs or is it worse to deal drugs to a bunch of different people and impact their lives and the people that love them? I feel like Trey probably has the worst end of the stick, but I feel like it was very hypocritical of him to do that. But anyway, lastly, we see Bobby at the strip club with Trey, and Trey just seems to be feeling better after having seemed depressed. Now, moving on, we're going to talk about episode number 9, which was basically a one big flashback, and we get the background of the events leading up to Trey's incarceration. We also get to meet Ruth, who is Shannon's mother. And, earlier in the series, we had a whole episode dedicated to Ruth's funeral, just to connect the dots. So moving on, those braids, y'all, those braids, they're terrible looking on Tracy Morgan. But moving on, I like the type of rapport that Shannon and Trey have in their relationship. It comes off as very genuine, and I can see myself having conversations like they would have conversations. I like their relationship. It comes off as a real relationship as opposed to something that you would watch on TV or something that celebrities portray their relationships to be like, things along those lines. But moving on, he had a nice little convertible. I think it was a Saab. I couldn't really tell what kind of car it was. But he goes to the drive-thru and he asks for ranch for his biscuits. And the guy in the drive-thru is giving him a hard time. But while he is there in the drive-thru, somebody starts shooting at him. And he gets the heck out of there with his life, surprisingly. And so Clyde claims that it is the Purvis family and that they want Trey in Clyde's territory, where they're selling drugs and whatnot. So apparently they're a crazy family with a lot of different people who carry buck knives and who choke out principals and who shoot people in the legs for cotton candy and all that kind of stuff. And so Shannon is trying to get Trey out of the game. He clearly almost died. The fact that the car still runs after being shot up is miraculous. But Shannon understands the gravity of the situation. He almost died. And we don't know at this point if Shay had already knew that they were pregnant. But the way that she was talking to me indicated that she knew that she was pregnant and that she wanted to have a better future with Trey, and that's why she was pressing him so hard to get out of the game and start cooking. And I think Tiffany Haddish is a great actress if she lets Tracy Morgan kiss her without retching. But moving on, Clyde and Trey are at Wavy's, and Clyde thinks, it's the Purvis family, but they can't really be sure. And then Wavy reveals to us that Clyde got into it with one of the Purvis brothers at a car wash over a parking spot. And apparently now this is causing issues with the business. And Clyde comes off as very much so a hothead that creates problems without really thinking about them. Clyde is working for Wavy, but does not really have respect for Wavy. And Wavy is kind of over it, to the point where Wavy almost shot Clyde right away. Do y'all think it's weird that the actor portraying Bobby is also portraying Clyde? I understand that brothers kind of look alike, but they look too much alike. It's clearly the same person. Whatever. Moving on. So Trey wants a peaceful resolution, but Wavy threatens to kill them both if they don't get the problem solved, because Wavy clearly doesn't want it with the Purvis family. Apparently there's a lot of them, and they're all equally unbothered by the consequences of their actions. Now, next we go to Clyde's house, and Clyde has an assault rifle, and he does not plan on resolving this issue peacefully. He's not trying to hear it. So Clyde has been skimming some money off the top of the crack they're supposed to be selling, and I guess it's keeping the profit for himself. He claims that, he only acts stupid, but he's very smart, and I don't think it's smart to steal from a drug dealer, especially one that almost just killed you. But whatever. Trey is just really not feeling it. Not really feeling the violence, and is still longing to cook and do something that he loves that's actually legitimate. Now, Clyde wants to take over, but Trey's not with it. He's kind of, looking in the window at cooking classes at this place called the Silver Plate, and is just longing to be there with those students and learning all the culinary arts, And that's something that a lot of people, I think, should really consider. I feel like a lot of people get into doing things like selling drugs and other things that are not legitimate or as legitimate as, getting a real job, not just for the money, but because they don't feel that they have the skills to necessarily do anything else. And I think with the right amount of education about different jobs and figuring out what people's purposes are, what things that they're really good at, it could really make an impact in the world if we actually took time with people to actually figure out, hey, what are you good at? What do you want to do with your life? What skills do you have in this illegitimate capacity that can be translated into something that is legitimate? But that's just a thought. But moving on, we see Trey run into Ruth, who is Shay's mom, who is arguing with the store owner. Ruth is very terrible. She's very bad. She wants money from her daughter. Shannon was very choked up about it. Ruth was terrible. I don't know what it's like to have a drug addicted parent, but Shannon, I felt bad for her, and I feel bad for all people who have to deal with situations like that. But moving on, Trey decides to enroll in cooking classes the next semester. While they're at some type of market shopping for dinner that night, Wavy shows up to talk to Trey. Wavy basically wants Trey to put Clyde in line before he kills him and before Wavy and Trey have a problem. And apparently Trey put in his 2-week notice. He's over it. He wants to get out of the game. Even though Trey is Wavy's number one, soldier, as he called him. And at that point, first off, during the first episode, we saw that Wavy was there when Trey got arrested. Trey could have easily have rolled over on Wavy right then, and Wavy would have been in jail with Trey and probably would have got more time or whatever. But because Trey, was the person that he was, and there's this culture about not snitching, he did not snitch on Wavy. So initially, from the way things were set up, from that very first episode when we saw Trey get arrested, it was basically clear that Wavy rolled over on Trey and let him take the fall. But now that we have more background, we are all 100% sure that Wavy, set Trey up and was upset that Trey wanted to leave and get out of the game. And Wavy said, "You don't leave until I tell you to leave." And apparently that was Trey's, exit. And so I also think that Wavy killed Clyde. With Trey not there to protect him, Clyde apparently didn't make it very, very long. And so Trey wakes up. He realizes that Wavy set him up. And next week, we have the season finale of The Last OG, where apparently Trey is seeking revenge. And so for me, I feel as if I feel like this show is finally getting good. It wasn't that the show seemed aimless so much as the show was about them trying to get to know each other and all that kind of stuff. But now that we kind of have the exposition and now that we have the background, the situational part of the sitcom is coming out more. And the show is coming off as more of like a drama with funny moments as opposed to a comedy with some dramatic moments. Tell me how you all feel about this whole situation. I'm sorry that this video is so long. It was not supposed to be this long, but I did review 2 episodes in one. Tell me what you all think about this particular series. The series finale, like I said, is next week. So I really need to come up with some other content to put on this thing, on my channel. I am doing another hair video, so probably tomorrow I'll post the video that I'm doing. I'm going to be filming me reverting my hair back to its natural state, so be on the lookout for that. Also, oh, that's nice. The little flip, that little 90s flip. Y'all know how like that little 90s flip work? It's like real high up here with the volume, and then it falls down there. Like Vanessa Williams. Okay. But moving on. Thank you guys for watching. I'm so sorry for going so long without posting a new video. Tell me what you think about this episode. Be on the lookout for some more videos, and peace out, slices.